Don't let your drain become a gas leak hazard. You lift the cabinet door, shine a flashlight behind the drain pipe, and there it is. A curved trap that drops down and disappears into the floor in a way that just looks a little off. Maybe the sink has always smelled a bit strange. Maybe you've heard that this kind of setup is not good, but nobody ever explained why. Here's the deal. I'm going to walk you through what an S-trap is, why it was once common, why it's no longer allowed in modern homes, how it fails, and the 3 practical ways to fix it. By the end, you'll know how to spot the problem, understand the real risk, and choose the right correction instead of guessing. And if you're trying to understand the bigger plumbing picture, why you follow along, there's a complete guide to plumbing in the QR code or link in the description. Visit it if you want the bigger system explained before you start changing parts. Every sink, tub, and shower needs a trap because the drain system is not just carrying water away. It's also connected to the rest of the plumbing system, and that means it can become a path for sewer gases if there isn't a barrier in the way. That barrier is water. A trap holds a small amount of water in a curved section of pipe, and that water acts like a seal. It lets wastewater flow out, but it blocks air and gases from coming back up into the room. That's the basic purpose of any trap. And that's why this little bend under the sink matters more than most people realize. Now, here's where things go sideways. Not all traps are shaped in a way that keeps that water seal stable. And that's where the S-trap enters the story. At a glance, an S-trap looks like a pipe that drops down in an S shape and then disappears into the floor drain. Water enters from the fixture, curves through the trap, and then continues straight down. The problem is not that it has a curve. The problem is the way it exits. A proper trap should hold a stable water seal and then connect to a vented drainage system that protects that seal. An S-trap, by its shape, creates a situation where the water can be pulled out of the trap instead of staying put. That means the seal can disappear, and once the seal is gone, the drain is no longer blocking sewer gas the way it should. Compare that to a standard P-trap. A P-trap curves like a letter P on its side, then connects to a horizontal drain line that is vented correctly. That vent is what helps balance pressure so the water seal stays in place. With an S-trap, the flow drops too directly, and that shape can create suction. That suction is the key issue, and it has a name: siphoning. People often assume S-traps were banned because they're ugly, old-fashioned, or inconvenient. Those are not the real reasons. The real reason is siphoning. When water rushes through an S-trap and drops too quickly, it can create negative pressure in the pipe. Instead of the trap water sitting calmly in place, the moving water can pull itself out of the bend, almost like a straw effect. Once that happens, the trap seal is reduced or removed, and gases from the drain system can come back into the room. That is why the issue is not just about plumbing style, it's about whether the fixture can maintain a reliable barrier between your living space and the drainage system. And there's another problem. Even if an S-trap seems to work today, it may fail later as conditions change. A fast flush, a partial clog, a long drain run, or changes in water flow can all affect the pressure in the line. What looks acceptable one day can become unreliable the next. That's why modern codes reject the design. It's not an arbitrary rule. It's a correction based on how water and air actually behave. Once the trap seal is lost, you can start to get odors first. That is usually the earliest warning sign, and many people ignore it because the smell comes and goes. But the smell is not the only issue. Sewer gas is unpleasant, yes, but the bigger concern is that the drain system is no longer properly isolated from the room. The trap is supposed to be the safety buffer. If it dries out or gets siphoned empty, that buffer is gone. In some homes, the problem becomes obvious after a sink has not been used for a while. The trap water can evaporate slowly, especially in a guest bathroom or a laundry area that sits unused. Then, the next time someone walks in, they notice the smell immediately. In other cases, the issue is more direct. The sink may gurgle, drain strangely, or leave behind a faint odor even after cleaning. Those are all clues that the trap is not behaving the way it should. So, if you have a fixture that smells bad and the plumbing underneath looks like an S-trap, don't treat it like a minor cosmetic flaw. It is a functional problem. If you want to identify an S-trap, don't overcomplicate it. Open the cabinet, look at the drain pipe, and trace the path with your eyes. A proper modern setup usually leaves the fixture, drops into a trap, and then runs horizontally into a vented branch line. An S-trap, by contrast, drops down and disappears directly into the floor. That downward exit is the giveaway. You may also see older metal piping, a patchwork of adapters, or a trap that looks like it was assembled from different eras of plumbing. That doesn't automatically mean failure, but it tells you to look more carefully. A simple flashlight inspection can save you a lot of confusion. Check whether the trap has a stable horizontal outlet, or whether it just plunges straight down. If it drops straight down, you may be looking at the exact configuration that modern code no longer permits. If you want a fuller walkthrough of plumbing basics and how different drain setups are supposed to work, you can find a complete guide to plumbing in the QR code or link in the description. If you're trying to understand the system before you start changing parts, take a moment to visit it, because the more clearly you understand the layout, the easier it is to spot what is actually wrong. Now let's get to the part that really matters: how to correct an S-trap setup. There are three common paths, and the right one depends on what's behind the wall, what's below the floor, and how the fixture was installed in the first place. The first fix is to replace the S-trap with a properly vented P-trap arrangement, if the plumbing layout allows it. The second fix is to add a venting solution, such as an air admittance valve, where allowed by code and appropriate for the location. The third fix is to rework the drain line so the fixture connects correctly to the system, which may involve opening the wall or changing the route of the drain. Let's take them one by one. This is the cleanest solution when the plumbing layout gives you enough room. A P-trap holds the seal in the curved section and then runs horizontally to a vented drain line. That horizontal section is what helps keep pressure balanced. If the current setup is simple and accessible, converting an S-trap to a P-trap may be the best correction. But this only works if the rest of the system supports it. You cannot just bend a pipe slightly and hope it counts. The venting and slope have to be right, and the drain must be routed in a way that does not recreate the same problem under a different shape. If you already have decent access under the sink, and the pipe can be reconfigured without forcing the outlet straight down, this is often the most straightforward path. Sometimes the issue is not just the trap shape, but the lack of proper venting in the system. In those cases, a venting correction may solve the pressure problem that causes siphoning. In some installations, an air admittance valve may be used where code permits. It allows air into the drain system when needed, which helps protect the trap seal from being pulled empty. But it's important to understand that this is not a universal magic part. It depends on the local code, the fixture location, and the overall design of the drainage system. This is where people often make mistakes by assuming every plumbing problem can be solved with one small fitting. It can't. If the system is badly arranged, or if the fixture is in a place where that type of venting is not allowed, then an added valve will not be the right answer. It may help in some situations, but it is still only one tool in a broader correction. This is the most involved solution, but it is often the most correct when the existing plumbing was built in a way that simply cannot be made reliable with a simple swap. If the drain line drops directly through the floor and the system was never designed with proper venting, you may need to reroute the plumbing so the trap connects to a vented horizontal branch. That can mean opening a wall, adjusting pipe heights, and changing how the fixture ties into the home's drainage system. This is where a professional plumber becomes especially valuable, because the correction is not just about replacing visible parts, it's about making sure the whole path of water and air works together. And if you're already at the stage where walls or floors may need to be opened, that's a strong sign the issue is bigger than a quick undersink repair. If you're comparing repair options and want a clearer picture of plumbing components before you commit to a change, check the QR code or link in the description for the complete guide to plumbing. It can help you make sense of the parts you're looking at, so you don't mistake a temporary workaround for a real fix. Before you touch a wrench, inspect the whole setup. Look for the trap shape first. Then, look for the outlet path. Then, look for signs of old patchwork repair, such as mismatched fittings, heavy use of adapters, or a drain that seems to have been redirected multiple times. Also check for gurgling, recurring odor, slow drainage, and visible corrosion. These are all clues that the trap is not the only issue. Sometimes the pipe is undersized, the slope is wrong, or the vent is blocked. In other words, the S-trap may be the symptom, not the entire disease. If the plumbing is ancient, be careful not to assume that it has always worked means it is correct. Many old installations function just enough to stay unnoticed until a smell, backup, or inspection expose the weakness. Modern plumbing codes are not there just to make life harder. They reflect what has been proven to work reliably over time. An S-trap might seem harmless because water still passes through it. But plumbing is not only about drainage. It is about drainage, air pressure, venting, sanitation, and long-term stability. A design that can lose its seal under normal use is not dependable enough for modern standards. That's the whole issue in one sentence. And this is also why a trap that looks fine can still be wrong. A plumbing system can appear functional while quietly failing its most important job, protecting the room from sewer gases. The first mistake is trying to solve an S-trap problem with a random fitting from the hardware store. If the geometry stays wrong, the problem stays wrong. The second mistake is adding too much pipe length without thinking about venting and slope. More pipe does not automatically mean better plumbing. The third mistake is ignoring the smell and assuming it is just a cleaning issue. If the trap seal is being lost, no amount of bleach will fix the root cause. The fourth mistake is swapping parts without checking whether the whole system is permitted by code. A trap is one part of a larger drain network. If the network is not right, the trap alone cannot save it. Think of the trap as a water gate. Its job is to stay filled enough to block gases, while still letting waste pass. If the system pulls that water away, the gate is open when it should be closed. So, the goal is not merely to replace a pipe. The goal is to create conditions where the water seal can survive normal use. That means proper shape, proper venting, proper slope, and proper connection to the rest of the drain system. Miss one of those pieces, and the same symptom can come back. After a repair, run water and watch what happens. Listen for gurgling, smell for odor, check for leaks around the joints. Make sure the drain empties smoothly and the trap holds water afterward. If the fixture remains quiet, drains normally, and does not release odor, that is a good sign the correction is doing what it should. If the problem returns, do not assume the new part failed immediately. Look deeper. The venting may still be wrong, the drain line may be restricted, or the root may still be pulling the trap dry. And one more small but important habit. On fixtures that don't get used often, run a little water through them once in a while. That simple step can help keep the trap seal from evaporating and keep the odor from coming back. S-traps are no longer allowed in modern homes for one simple reason. They can siphon the water seal out of the trap and let sewer gases back into the room. That is the real problem, and it is why the shape itself is not just outdated, but unreliable. The fix depends on the system. Sometimes you can convert to a proper P-trap. Sometimes you need an approved venting solution, and sometimes the drain layout has to be reworked so the fixture connects correctly in the first place. So if you found a strange downward dropping trap under your sink, now you know what you're looking at, why it matters, and how to deal with it the right way. The goal is not to fight the code. The goal is to make sure the plumbing works the way plumbing is supposed to work, quietly, safely, and without sending sewer gas back where it does not belong.